Body dysmorphia is a serious problem that affects the lifting community. I understand how you might feel because it's been the same for me. And only till about recently did I really start to overcome this problem once and for all. So in this video, I want to share what's been helpful in my experience and how you can benefit from it too. So the first step towards recovery is recognizing that you have a problem and seeking to correct yourself through a humbling process, or rather, being uncomfortable allows you to identify what you're really made of. And this goes beyond the gym. You grow in your toughest moments. In the case of body dysmorphia, sometimes you got to challenge yourself to overcome the fear of being small or being too fat or being whatever. Face your problems head on. Look at yourself in the mirror and ask what's bothering you, why is it bothering you, and then just dive in. Flooding, if you will. Jumping into the pool. Headstrong. That's what I'm talking about. So I'll give you an example. I was in a fluffy state for years, rocked a barrel physique. I was proud of being massive, quote unquote. I enjoyed filling in my t-shirts. I enjoyed all these amazing size benefits and being able to eat a lot of food and just looking stacked. Then I decided to do a cut to really excel at calisthenics and other things, right, that I spoke about in videos in the past. And that's when I became humbled for the first time in years. My shirt started getting so much looser and my measurements were going down, down, down. And then my strength took a massive hit. I lost an insane amount of performance on my bench press. Yeah, my calisthenics went up, but absolute performance. In terms of the heavy pulls, the benching, overhead press, I downgraded to a level of performance that really affected me mentally. And when I finally got lean at 160 pounds, I had the cuts and I was flexing everything my shirt off. Yes, I looked good in those conditions. But in the standard everyday situation of life, I looked small. And it really, really bothered me. In fact, that was probably the most insecure I felt in years in terms of the way that my body appeared, because I was not used to that state. Like, I enjoyed the cuts, don't get me wrong, but I hated the idea of being small. Hence why the Barrel philosophy was so amazing. So what it took for me was being humbled and riding that out, being uncomfortable for months on end, until I finally realized, you know what? It's not that bad. You look at yourself in the mirror, it's like, I'm not quite as big as I used to be. But let's look at things holistically. In other words, you have to embrace the feeling of being uncomfortable. And the more I think about that, the more I realize how true it is in all facets of life. And that's another thing too. When I leaned down, I came to terms with many things about my frame, if that makes sense. And I was like, you know what? I'm cool with this. It's not a problem. And slowly over time, my desire for being massive again was greatly diminished because I didn't feel compelled to. I was already rocking it. It was cool now. It was no longer an issue that bothered me. So sometimes you just have to face your fears head on. For me, I didn't want to have that sucked up look that's so common among real naturals who get lean. So that's what I recommend for you. What are you afraid of? And go ahead and tackle it. I know there's other YouTubers who are doing this right now, like Stephanie Buttermore, for example. Big shout out to her. Look into her journey. She's intentionally gaining weight. And she's speaking about this to a broad audience of women. And men too who follow her stuff. Because it's a message that a lot of us can relate to. So what are your fears? Tackle them straight on, instead of running away from them. Because once you get in the trenches and you're like, you know what? I don't like this at all. But you ride it out nonetheless, your anxiety's up here. Over time, it lowers. Then you're like, you know what? I'm cool with it. It's not a big deal. That's what's been very, very, very helpful for me. Cutting changed my life in that way and other ways as well. And in that process, by the way, it's also the second thing I want to talk about. It's the fact that I was growing out my beard and hair, right? So I was also going through this awkward phase where I really didn't look my best. So you got this physique that's smaller, then you got this ugly hairdo going on, and it's like, it really makes you uncomfortable. And you know that it's not your best look, but it's like, you're riding it out. And some people ridicule you, they make fun of you. They do all these things. And what happens is, you start to become cold as ice. You become hardened by war, if you will. You just become this bad motherfucker that things don't bother you anymore. And once you don't care about the approval from other people, once the validation aspect has been killed off, and you're like, you know what? I know what I'm worth, and I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want. I don't care what you think. Once you truly believe that, it's not some bullshit that you read online. It's not some motivational quote. No, once you sincerely, from the bottom of your heart, you believe this, your whole life will change. And you will be able to deal with body dysmorphia in a much better way. Because now it's not about comparing yourself to other people. And what I found for me too is that, like, growing out the hair and beard was one of the best decisions of my life. Because once I removed it, it was like being reborn. And it made me realize that it's not always about the physique exclusively. Aesthetics go far beyond the body. The grooming and the styling and all these factors is extremely important. And over the last 5 or 6 months, I've been getting a lot of compliments on my beard, on my hairstyle, because I take care of myself now. I do the beard once a week. I do my haircut every 2 to 3 weeks. So I'm always looking sharp up here. And I've upgraded my wardrobe as well. I've thrown out the majority of my clothes. I buy stuff that actually fits me properly. I don't care about the measurement anymore, although it is important. I've talked about this in the past. Check out this video here. But it's more like, you know what? I'm just going to rock the clothes. I'm going to be stylish when possible. I'm going to wear form-fitting stuff. I'm not going to worry about the fucking ego or the measurements or all this shit. I'm just going to look good. I'm going to take care of myself, and that's it. And when you're approaching from that perspective, it's like you can look better despite having a shittier physique, quote unquote. Like everybody says that I've made tremendous improvements in my physical development. That is true. I've made a lot of gains. It's the best shape of my life. But it's not so significant that it's like, whoa. In a lot of ways, it just comes down to better usage of clothes, better grooming, all these things. That's what provides a more aesthetic appeal. Plus becoming more health focused, which is another thing I want to talk about. I find that those who struggle with body dysmorphia the most are those in the bodybuilding or aesthetics community, because they're basing their sense of worth simply off the looks factor. I would encourage you to enter the health world and performance as well. When you approach things from a health perspective, these common sayings like, oh, cardio kills your gains, you don't give a fuck about that. First of all, it doesn't. I've already proved that. But even if it were true, you view things as, you know what? Who gives a fuck? Cardio is beneficial to my long-term health, and I'm going to do it regardless. So you've conquered the physical aspect. The fear of losing your leg mass, that's no longer a problem because the fate of being healthy is more important to you. You understand? And the same thing for performance. It might take a long, long time to see physical improvements, right? As a natural who's really in this game long term. But you can still get tremendously stronger, and that could be a different type of motivation. So for those who are overly obsessed with the aesthetics, just focus on the numbers instead. Wouldn't you agree that it's better to have number dysmorphia instead of like body dysmorphia, the physical, where you're looking at yourself 50 times a day in the fucking mirror? At least for the numbers, you're only stressing about it when you enter the gym, when you have to write down those PRs, and actually makes you accountable in terms of programming and all that. And you inevitably get the size anyway. So become more strength focused as opposed to aesthetics focused is what I'm saying. While of course having the objective of being bigger over time in mind, because you still care about it, something you still value. But you're just changing the perspective, you're changing the goals. You're making strength first, hypertrophy second, recognizing that it's all holistic and you're going to get it all. And then with the health on top of it, in addition to the proper grooming, it's like, whoa, I can overcome this shit. That's what I'm talking about. You can't view this from a narrow perspective. And then another thing I want to talk about is the concept of comparing yourself to other people. You got to stop doing that, man. Stop it. Unfollow these motherfuckers on Instagram that you know are enhanced. I'm sure they're great guys. I'm sure you respect them, especially if they're honest. But every time you look at their stuff, at least for a lot of you, I'm not saying this is universal, but a lot of you, every time you look at their stuff, it makes you feel more insecure about your own physique. If all you're doing is scrolling through your feed, and you see these crazy genetic elites putting up these crazy fucking numbers, and they have the best physiques ever, then you just got the little natty on the side. It's like, what the hell, man? And it actually encourages bad behavior. And I'll also tell you this, a lot of those guys that you see are insecure as fuck in terms of the ones who have those crazy physiques. Many of them have more body dysmorphia than you can possibly imagine. Just think about what a lot of them are doing. Willing to sacrifice your health just to look better. Taking all these drugs. Constantly seeking validation. Not saying this is universal again, but we see these traits in serious lifters. Especially the enhanced ones. So it's also your surroundings. Not comparing yourself to others. Truly knowing what you want and pursuing it. Rocking the uncomfortable wave, right? But then surrounding yourself with individuals that are like-minded and positive. And who are going to honestly assess what your physique is actually like. Now, in my life, that's been special individuals, okay? In addition to you guys, the online fitness community, my YouTube subscribers, haters, and Instagram followers. And even people email me, random guys that I've never heard about. They've been watching my stuff anonymously. And they're like, Alex, you changed my life. They give me a full breakdown. And when you hear stuff like that, when you have a positive community of those who put you in check in the right way, but they want you to grow, you understand? It's not a negative form of criticism. It's constructive in a way that's positive. They're trying to move you in the right direction. When you surround yourself with good individuals, and you have a powerful, positive community, it helps you deal with your own problems. That's why one of the keys to recovery is a good support system. Don't feel like you have to be alone in this path. Join some forums if you have to. Join some groups. Meet people who are struggling with the same problems as yourself and talk it out. See what could be done. And again, that's why I really respect what some individuals are doing in the YouTube fitness community in terms of bringing more awareness to these topics, talking about it, making long videos, doing experiments as well. So I recommend you do the same. Speak about your experiences and share some advice on how others can deal with this problem as well. Because the more people are talking about it, the more we bring awareness to this very common issue, the more we could deal with it. So support system is absolutely key, and I find that we're starting to do that more and more in the way that the fitness world is changing online. So those are really the main things that have been helpful for me. I tried to relate it back to you. I hope it's been helpful, guys. I know it's not easy. I know it's difficult. I know that there are times where it's like, fuck. And you look at yourself and you're unhappy and it's like, it's easy to beat yourself down and enter a downward spiral. But the key is to bring yourself back up in those states. Don't be overrun by your emotions. Be logical and try out some of the things I talked about in today's segment. So with that said, guys, hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what's been helpful in your life in dealing with this problem. And with that said, I'll talk to you next time.